promptly at 9 p.m. To be respectful of people's time. So Kylie, you're not having any problem hearing or anything like that. You can see the chat and everything.
Yep, I think I don't see the chat, but I do. Actually, yes, I do.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good to go.
Good. Well, folks, tell us where you're from. I know DMP Financial is from Philly. Jim Harold, I'm not familiar with you, where you're from. You can tell us a little bit about you. Hillman Dropout. We'd love to hear from you. Right side people are coming in now, so thank you so much for joining. I'm going to introduce Kylie, and we are going to get started. I am so excited to have this opportunity. Kylie, how's the weather? Where are you?
I'm in Atlanta.
You are in Atlanta. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, in Atlanta. So how's your weather down there right now?
It's pretty nice. I mean, today was in the upper 50s.
Okay.
So, a little cool, but not too bad.
And Kylie,
folks in the Northeast.
Yeah, they got hit with snow. I know there were snow days and things like that up there as well. So just going to jump right in. Of course, I thought I had your bio up, and I don't, of course. Have it right here, but I will get that.
Do you have it? Okay.
I have Courtney's. Courtney's came up, but not yours. Can you shoot it to me real quick?
Sure.
Yeah, I thought I had it. You and I have so many emails back and forth, and I thought I had the bio here, and it's not the bio. It's something else we were working on back in November.
And even if you go to kyliecarr.com/about, I have my official bio on there as well, but I'll copy and paste and send it to you.
Thank you. So we're going to get started. So like I said, DMP, I know you're from Philly. I am here in the great state of Florida, in the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area, and Kylie is coming to us from Atlanta. And I'm going to get right started. I am really excited because Kylie is, in addition to being an expert on image and branding and putting dollars in your pocket because of image and branding, she is also a sister podcaster. So I'm excited. So tonight's title is Power Presence, and Kylie is a coach and advises C-level executives and successful entrepreneurs on how to be a compelling force within their organization. She is a highly sought after speaker and consultant, and recently launched the Power Presence Toolkit, which she's going to talk to us a bit about later. She holds an MBA from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern and a BA from Emory. And when she is not on the road speaking to corporate teams, she can be found on her podcast, Beyond the Business Suit, where she uncovers the secret weapons of successful women. Kylie's advice to professional women has been featured in Forbes, the Lebo League, and the New Network Journal, considered the Wardrobe Whisperers and one of America's Smartest Shoppers by Schwab and the Style Network. And she's also been honored by HelloBeautiful.com as 25 Women to Know in 2015. And I'm so glad to know her in 2015 and 2016. And don't be jealous, Andrea. The snow will go away in a couple of months. You'll have warm weather like we do down here. Here's in the comments. So Kylie Carr, thank you so much for being here. And what's not in your bio is you are a soon-to-be mommy, so we're really excited.
I am.
When is the baby due?
Mid-March, so I'm on the home stretch.
Nice.
So you guys can't see my big belly right now.
Your belly is below the camera. Well, I am Michelle Talbert. Like I said, I'm the host of the Her Power Hustle podcast and host of Her Power Plays, which is a bi-weekly series where we help women entrepreneurs soar. We are talking with loads of different folks, including Kylie, about different areas of entrepreneurship to help you take your business beyond the next level. So I'm super excited. Kylie's going to be able to just sort of jump in and start chatting with you and giving you a really good meaty presentation about ways to amp up your image, which amps up your brand, your personal brand, which amps up your ability to make dollars. And that's really why we're all in business. Aside from doing good and things like that, it's nice to be able to pay the bills as well. And so Kylie, take it away. You can let me know. I'll field questions. If folks have questions, be sure to put /Q in the chat before you state your question, and then we'll be able to sort of field the questions. Kylie, you're cool with taking questions as we go along?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And I'm fighting a little cough, so I have my cough drops here if I need them. I have some water. Actually, I'm going to pop one in, so you've been warned, but hopefully it won't get too out of control.
Well, we are just so excited to have you and to have this opportunity. I've been blessed to be able to see and hear you speak and listen to your podcast. So this is a really, really great opportunity for people to hear from you as a coach, consultant, personal shopper, all of that. Because I think it's something we all like. I'm here in a T-shirt that was part of the podcast movement. It was part of our.
Hey, there you go. That's part of your brand.
Right. Awesome T-shirt. So take it away, Kylie.
Okay, thank you so much, Michelle. I am so honored to be here and welcome everybody. And for those of you who this is the first time that you're seeing me or listening to me, I'm so glad that you've spent part of your night, depending on what time zone you're in, your evening or your night with me. So thank you. And thank you again, Michelle, for letting me be a part of this fantastic platform that you have. So today we are going to talk about power presence. And as Michelle said, what I want to help you with is elevating your image, your presence, your personal brands so that you can boost your business, so that it can turn into dollars for all of you. So I'll do my best to answer questions throughout. Before we get started into the content, I want to ask you a question. How long do you think it takes for you to make a first impression when you meet somebody for the first time in person? How long do you think it takes? Anyone? Post in the comment section if you have any ideas of how long it takes for someone to make a first impression. And if not, I'll immediately. It's pretty immediate. It is pretty immediate. Well, I'll let you in on the secret. It's 7 seconds. It takes 7 seconds to make a first impression in person. Now, later, I'll talk about how long it takes for you to make a first impression online, which is, I will give you a caveat, it is less. But we'll get into that. But it's so important to make a great first impression, whether it's in person, whether it's online. As entrepreneurs, we all need to make sure that we are representing ourselves and our businesses to the best of our abilities. So today, what we're going to talk about are some of the components of what I call power presence and how they can help you in boosting your businesses. So we'll talk about personal branding, we'll talk about confidence, we'll talk about your image online and in person, and I'll also give you some power tools that will help you just elevate your image, even if you're just getting started. Because I know how it is to start a business when you don't have a following, when you are just starting your website, when you don't even have, any money in the door yet. It's hard to spend the money, or it's hard to look the part even before you are the part. So I'm going to give you some ways so that you can do that, which will in turn help you in your business. I can tell you a quick story. When I first started, so I spent over 15 years in corporate America, climbed my way up the ladder, worked in many different functional areas, as well as many different environments. So I started my career in HR, went into management consulting, got my MBA, went into marketing and digital media, and was leading marketing departments in tech companies and digital media companies, and then went out on my own about almost 2 years ago. And when I did, people knew me as Kylie, the marketing executive. They knew me as a corporate person, right? And here I was leaving and starting my own business where I was focusing on image and presence and personal branding. And I had to reposition myself, reposition my brand. But luckily, because I had a strong reputation up to that point, people were able to see me in that new light because I told them how to see me. The next thing I knew, because I was talking about this on social media, because I had changed my LinkedIn profile, because I would talk about what I was doing, even though I didn't have a client the first people started coming to me. I started getting requests for speaking engagements. I started getting requests for me to do workshops in corporate offices, in law firms, in conferences. There were so many things that were happening for me very early in my business. And I think most of that had to do with me being intentional about how I was developing my personal brand and how I was showing up, as well as my previous reputation, which fed into all of that. So let's first start with personal branding. So let me ask you, I see that we have quite a few people in here, but I'm just curious of what people think about the term personal brand. What does a personal brand mean to you? When I say, what's the definition of personal branding? What are some of the things that come to mind?
You guys can put that down in the chat box. Just shout out your ideas of personal branding.
And usually when I ask this question, some of the things that people say are, the perception people have, and, the things people say about you, or what people think about you. When you think about, and feel free to keep on putting your responses in the chat box, but when you think about brands that we know, so you think about Apple, you think about Nike, you think about BMW, these are all brands that may stand for different things. So Apple may stand for great design and prestige and quality. Nike may stand for performance and athletics, and BMW may stand for luxury and performance and fast and all of these things. And when you think about any brand is based upon how we are perceived. So it's essentially what people say about us when we are not in the room. So that's good to think about when you think about your personal brand. Think about what people think about you and say about you when you're not in the room. Also, when you are introduced to somebody for the first time, or somebody, say they're doing an email connection, pay attention to what they're saying about you. That will give you an indicator of what they think about you and how they perceive you, even without asking. But that being said, I want you all to just write down a few things. Number one is, how do you think people perceive you? So if I were to ask 8 to 10 people to describe you using 3 to 5 words, 3 to 5 adjectives, what do you think they would say about you? So think about that. And then think about, what do you want people to say about you? Because how people currently perceive you may be different than how you would want them to. Maybe you haven't been showing up in the way that you should be, But ultimately, the homework that I want to give to all of you to do, and I've done this myself, and it was an eye-opening experience for me, and that was to ask 8 to 10 people or even post it on your Facebook page. Like I've posted it on Facebook before, and ask people to describe you using 3 to 5 words, and see what are some of the most commonly used adjectives, see what floats to the top, and see how that compares to what you think, how you think people are perceiving you, because then you'll be able to see the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And you might even hear some words that are used that you didn't even realize. And assuming they're all positive, there could be some things some ways that you're being perceived and interpreted that you had no idea, but that could really help you understand how your brand is being perceived. So what I always I start this with all of my clients now. I have them start with, understanding how they want to be perceived, finding and writing down those 3 to 5 words, putting them on a piece of paper, taking a snapshot of it, putting it as their wallpaper on their laptop or on their phone so they can continuously refer back to those, because essentially you want to make sure that anything that you put out to the world is through the filter of those words, through the filter of your personal brand. So that could be your image, it could be your website, it could be how you are dressed, it could be how you speak. All of those things should come through the filter of your personal brand to make sure that you are being consistent. Now, as entrepreneurs, we are not only representing ourselves, but we're representing our companies. So one thing that is really important for us to do is, especially when we're first starting out, before we have a well-established business brand, we will likely be the face of the brand. And that's why it's so important for us to show up and develop our personal brands, even as we're developing our business brand, because we will likely be, if not synonymous, then close to it. When people think about our business, they'll think about us first if we are the face of our brand. So that's something to think about when it comes to personal branding. So let me ask you guys a question: are there any questions about personal branding, what that means, why it's important? Now, one thing that I will say about personal branding is that it does get a bad rap, and I know it's a buzzword right now, and it's honestly sometimes overused. Everybody's calling themselves a personal branding consultant. They're calling themselves a personal branding expert. And there are people who misuse personal branding. So some people think, oh, should I or should I not have a personal brand? Actually, we all have a personal brand. Whether or not we develop it, how intentional we are in developing it, that's a question. But we all have a personal brand.
So you're saying even when someone's business is, like, say for instance, Andrea is DMP Financial, but she still has the brand of being Andrea. So in that instance, she would be developing two brands then, right? Exactly. She would be developing her personal brand as a CEO or, executive of the company, but then also building out the brand DMP. Where do you find people make the most mistakes? Right, because Andrea's saying, and that's hard. Where do you find people make the most mistakes when they are trying to sort of balance? They understand they have a personal brand, but they really want the company to be the brand, right? Especially if they have an exit strategy or an end game in mind with building their business.
Right. Some of the mistakes I see people make are not putting a lot into either brand. So they don't want to develop their personal brand that much because they're focused on their business, right? We all want to, make money and develop a successful business. But in doing that, they also need to be out there networking, generating new business, developing, doing business development. And that requires you to have both a strong personal brand in terms of the impression that you make when you meet people who could be new clients or customers, as well as a strong business brand. Another mistake people make is they think, I don't have a lot of money, so I don't have enough money to put into anything right now. So let me just try to do it all myself, even though I have zero design skills. Or let me just put out the bare bones. And sometimes that can work if you have a good design eye. But we'll get into some more details later about what you can do to make sure that you don't show up looking like you just started.
Cool. Andrea's saying that's exactly what I want. So good. We're on the right track. And folks, if you have questions, please. Chuck Wang, thank you so much for sharing. Chuck Wang, thanks for sharing on Twitter. Be sure to give Kylie her props too. Click on her big ups button. So go ahead.
Great. So let's talk about image now. Now that we talked about personal branding, let's talk about image. And I want to first talk about your in-person image. So I just said that it only takes 7 seconds to make a first impression online. There are 3 reasons why, I'm sorry, in person, but there are 3 reasons why your image matters. And now I'm talking about your personal image. I'll get into your business brand's image and your online image in a bit, but your in-person image is important because, number one, it impacts how others perceive you, right? So 55% of first impressions are made based upon appearance. Now, that does not necessarily mean how attractive somebody is, how conventionally attractive they are, but it does fall into line with how put together they are, how polished they come across, how professional they are. Secondly, in relation to the perception, it also is a shortcut. So, when you think about different professions like judges and police officers, firefighters, they are professions where they have uniforms. Uniforms are created to create a shortcut. So our wardrobe can be used in the same way. Not to say that you have to wear a uniform, but you want your wardrobe and what you are communicating outwardly to align with what you want people to think about you. Because without any other information, all they see is all they know. So if you look disheveled, they will assume that you do disheveled work and that you may run your business in a disheveled way. And you don't want that, right? If you do quality work, you want people to assume that that's what they're going to get from you. So that is what I try to communicate to all my clients is that, that doesn't mean that you have to spend a whole lot of money and be, in, I don't know, a Hugo Boss suit that is also custom tailored to fit your body every single day. But it does mean that you want to find your own personal style and have pieces that are aligned with what you want people to, or how you want people to perceive you.
Well, Kylie, talk to us a little bit about that then. For people, say, number one, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, there may be a difference with regard to women versus men, but also for folks who are in industries like tech, and certain startups where it's like khakis or jeans, t-shirts, and it's pretty much the shortcut is the hoodie, the jeans,
right?
The shower shoes that Zuckerberg is going on. So talk to us a bit about that. So you're saying it doesn't have to be fancy, but what about sort of that interplay of personal style with what industry standards are?
That's really
how do you help
important.
people navigate that if they're looking to create a shortcut?
Exactly. That's really important because every industry is different. I've worked in every type of dress code from business formal to tech casual. So I've seen, the gamut. Now, it is different, I'm sorry to say, with men versus women. That's not to say that there are not women who work in tech environments who, don't wear t-shirts and jeans and flip-flops and get by. It's possible. But if you are a business owner, even if you are a startup owner, you need to think about how you can represent your company in the best way. I have a lot of clients a few clients who are in the tech field. Some of them are executives at tech companies that are more of a startup environment, and they're very casual environments. So what I help them with is how to define their personal style in a way that aligns to that environment so that they don't look out of place, but they're still elevated. Excuse me. So one example would be, I have a client who works at a healthcare tech company in Silicon Valley, and she is a director level, and she reports, I believe, to the CEO, and she may wear jeans and a blazer and a shirt and flats. That may be a little bit more fancy than some of the other people there, but it still is aligned with the culture. So she still looks elevated. She still looks like an executive in that environment, but she doesn't look out of place. She still is wearing jeans, but if she's still able to represent herself in the way that she wants to, which actually leads me to the second reason why your image is important, is because it impacts your performance. Now, granted, Mark Zuckerberg, we know what he wears to work every day. We've seen his closet, right?
We definitely saw his closet. We talked about his closet on Facebook. Gray t-shirts, jeans, and a black hoodie.
We did. Now, I will say that I think the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, the Steve Jobs of the world, number one, they're men.
Right.
And number two, I think they're anomalies. Because studies have shown that your dress does impact your performance. So, for instance, there was a study that was done in 2012 at Northwestern University, and it's called the white coat study, the white lab coat study. So they had, and I think, Michelle, you've heard this before. So for those of you who have not, I'm going to repeat this, but basically they did two experiments. In one experiment, they had two groups of people. They had one group of people wear the clothes that they came in with, their street clothes, and another group who wore a white lab coat or white lab coats. They had to take a test, and at the end of when they got the results of the test, they realized that those who wore the white lab coats performed 50% better than the people who wore the clothes that they came to the experiment in. So they wanted to do a little bit more. Thank you, Michelle, for posting that. They wanted to do a little bit more investigation, and they found that, okay, they decided, let's do another experiment. This time we're going to have three groups. One group is going to wear white lab coats. Another group is going to wear white coats that we're going to tell them that they're painter's coats, not white lab coats, but they're exactly the same. The third group could wear their clothes that they arrived in, but they would view a white lab coat before taking a test. They took the test, and again, they found that those who wore their white lab coats performed better than those who were in the other two groups. So what does that say? That says that what we wear does impact our performance. There was even another study back in 2014 at California State where they found that people who wore suits, like suits that they would wear to an interview, showed and demonstrated more executive reasoning, more strategic thinking. They felt more confident and powerful than those who wore their street clothes. Now, granted, that, you're not going to fit in. It's not going to be appropriate for you to wear a full business suit in a tech startup company. That just doesn't make sense.
Right.
But you need to find that happy medium. How can you still feel powerful and confident and get that boost to your performance, but still be aligned with the environment that you're in? And this is particularly important and difficult for those of us who work for ourselves and work from home. So I find that sometimes if I have a big client call or I'm doing a webinar, even though there may not be a camera in sight, maybe I'm on a phone call, sometimes I will put on a power outfit just so I can get into the zone, because I know that I'm going to deliver better than if I'm in my yoga pants and a t-shirt.
So let me go change my clothes. I'll be back.
You are good. See, this is your platform. You're not even, this is like, you're not even performing. This is second nature to you.
Too funny. I really find that incredible. And, I really want to drive that point home for folks that when people say, clothes do make the man or don't make the man, apparently they do when it comes to performance. Because your point is just incredible to me when I first heard you talk about this study, that it is about performance, not perception. I think that's a big deal. I think a lot of times we think, well, what we wear, we might feel a little better in it, or we might have a little strut or a little, bit of swag. But people will perceive us differently. But this is saying actual performance, like on a test, something that's supposed to be objective, you actually have better performance when you look better or feel yourself, your own perception, your self-perception is that you look better or cleaner or neater or smarter. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Another thing that's pretty incredible is that your image can impact your pay.
Let's talk about that, girl.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
Although I have not yet come across any studies that specifically talk about entrepreneurship, like business owners, and the link between their image and their business, I have seen just talk about how your image is impacted or can impact your income in professional environments. So for instance, you can get a boost of 10% more, at least 10% more. Women can by wearing professional attire in the workplace.
And is this regardless of who the gender, and they might not have looked at this, but does the gender of their employer or the decision maker play any role into that?
That's a really good question, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
They did not disclose that. They did not disclose that. But it was a large enough study, this one and the other one that I'll mention, which is that women who wear makeup get paid over 30% more than the women who do not. And this is great. Yes, I've been putting on lipstick since I was 4. That aside, I would not have thought that there would be such a strong correlation between that. Now, I should say that too much is too much. Right. If you're out there looking like a clown or putting on, your full face, if it takes you 30 minutes to put on your face in the morning, then especially if you work at a startup,
right.
and it's not a beauty-based one, then it may be too much.
I just think that this is so incredible, and I'm so thankful you're here for people to hear that. I just want to say again, this is the broadcaster in me. I want to make sure people hear this, that you can earn as much as 30% more based on certain studies for wearing makeup. Mm-hmm. Makeup.
Yeah. Makeup. Who knew? Who knew?
Now we know, though. And so, I think that although you haven't found yet, or they haven't conducted yet studies for entrepreneurs, I think there is some value to say that there probably is some type of similarity or correlation with regard to working with clients and things of that nature in terms of maybe paying you more as an entrepreneur, or especially a service provider who is interacting with clients face to face.
Exactly. And that's something to keep in mind for sure, is that if you do have client interaction, then, those things become even more important when you are interfacing with clients, for sure.
So tell us more about money.
Yes. So I know. I wish I had some more about money.
Ask questions.
Right. Yes. Feel free to ask questions. I did want to talk about your image online, though.
Yes. Yeah.
So
that is important.
It's not only our, in-person image. Somebody says, any makeup brand recommendations?
Funny. That's Chuck. Yes, Chuck. You should use Taj Cosmetics.
Right. There you go.
AJ Cosmetics. She's a sister power hustler.
Yes, she
is.
is.
She's not on here right now, but I'm going to put that out there. Taj Cosmetics.
Nice try, Chuck. Now, when it comes to our online image, I said that, it takes 7 seconds to make a first impression in person. But how long do you think it takes to make a first impression online? Post that in the chat box.
How long do you guys think it takes to make a first impression online? You said it's 7 seconds, right, for in person?
7 seconds in person.
So what do we think?
3 seconds? Great answer.
Less than 5 seconds.
How about 40 milliseconds?
That's crazy.
40 milliseconds. What is a millisecond? I mean,
Right.
40 milliseconds. That means when someone comes to your website for the first time, when somebody comes to your Twitter profile page, when somebody comes to your LinkedIn profile, they're already making a judgment about who you are and if you are right for them. And oh, by the way, when they come to your business website, they're doing the same thing. Yes, split second.
Really, seriously.
It takes a split second for somebody to assess whether or not you are right for them or your brand is right for them when they're viewing it online. So when we were talking about, and I know this happens, it happened with me too. I'm just getting started. I really don't have the money to invest in, paying somebody thousands of dollars to put together a great website. We make decisions and we try to do the best we can with what we have. However, if we don't make the right decisions, then we can end up losing customers and never getting them back. So in a bit, I'll talk about some tools that are out there that can help you create a website that looks decent or find resources that look decent, create images on your site, on social media that look more professional and can help with that. Because what you don't want to do is put things out there and that you try to put together even though you have no design skills at all. And it's representing not only you, but also your brand, your personal brand and your business's brand. And that can make you lose customers before you even have the opportunity to gain them. So another thing that I wanted to say is, bye, Chuck.
Bye, Chuck. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you. Another thing is that people will look up someone, 55% of people will search for them online before meeting them in person. So this is usually through Google or LinkedIn. They meet when you're meeting a client, a colleague, a potential client, a potential customer, especially if you have a service-based business, they will likely be Googling you. So what you want to make sure is that your online, your digital presence is as tight as possible. Excuse me, and that you know what's out there about you. So I always recommend conducting a digital audit, and you can do that by just Googling yourself, setting up Google alerts. So google.com/alerts, setting up alerts that will send you emails when there's a new listing under your name or any other criteria you think that people will use to get to, search results with you or your business. And even if you do that, I still recommend Googling yourself at least once a month, because I found that sometimes the Google alerts won't send you everything. I found out that I was mentioned in a book and I never got the Google alert, but yet when I searched for myself, I found it.
Wow.
So that's something that you should definitely do. So, any questions about your online presence?
Any questions? One thing I will say that's really great about this is if you think it through logically, a lot of times we're doing so many things as entrepreneurs. We're, trying to get ads and send people to our site, but the site's not ready for this split second, 40 millisecond decision making. And so I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, because interestingly enough, Courtney Herring was here on Her Power Play earlier this year, and she talked about Facebook ads. Right? So we as entrepreneurs get so much information about, what the next best thing is and different types of marketing and all of those pieces. But it's really important to think about your image, that once you're sending all of this traffic, once you're doing the marketing, where are you sending them to? And what is the message once they get there? Because the money that you're spending could be all for naught if once they arrive, especially cold traffic, people who don't already know, like, and love you or trust you. I always say know, like, in love. If they don't really trust you, that, when they get there, then they still have a decision to make. So I really appreciate you sharing this information about sort of being sure that you know what's being said about you out there, what your site looks like, all of these kinds of pieces that put it all together so you can make money when you get the eyeballs.
Yes. So the last thing, or not the last thing, the third thing that I want to talk about is confident communication. And this is something that's especially important for women. And what I found in just looking at the research that's out there is that this is plaguing women. A lack of confidence is plaguing women. And I'll put in a plug for both Michelle's interview with her and my interview with her. Carol Sankar talks about the confidence factor for women. And every time I hear her, she's just, a breath of knowledge about this subject. Women, we have issues when it comes to confidence. There was one study that studied over 60,000 executives. And in this study, these executives were rated on many different factors related to their leadership capabilities. And what they found was that women outranked men on almost every category except for confidence. So we are selling ourselves short. And what happens is, when we are not confident, people cannot trust us. If we are communicating with a lack of confidence, then people are going to automatically assume that we can't deliver. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Thank you for posting that, Michelle. We're shooting ourselves in the foot with this. So you want to make sure, and especially when you're just getting started in your business, oftentimes, we downplay, right? We start downplaying, well, I'm just getting started. We start apologizing before somebody even goes to our website, or we start, apologizing for things before giving the opportunity a chance. And next thing we know, we are losing out on business because we're not as confident in where our business is. And we need to understand that we all need to crawl before we walk. And excuse me, but in order to get our business to where it needs to be, we need to act as if. We need to act as if we are already there. So I wanted to share a few more tips and tactics, and also just to let you know that this feeling of this imposter syndrome and feeling of inadequacy is something that many of us feel. I still, battle this. Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, the best-selling author of Lean In, she talks about how she still feels like an imposter, that she doesn't feel like she should be where she is. So this is something that's not unique to you, but we need to be aware of it so that we can overcome it. So I wanted to share just a few tactics that you can do to, help boost your your confidence especially in how you communicate. Excuse me. So one of the things is related to your posture and posing. So I often talk about the power pose, and I don't know if you guys have heard of Amy Cuddy, who has I think it's the #2 TED Talk of all time, where she talks about power posing and how you can use your body language to help with your confidence. Excuse me. And what she found was that in her research, she found that there are certain poses that we can do with our body that can help boost our testosterone, which is related to our confidence, the hormone that is correlated with confidence, with power, with risk-taking, and things of that nature, as well as decrease our cortisol levels, which that's the hormone that is our stress hormone. So essentially, with the high power poses, excuse me, that will allow us to be more confident and less stressed. And that's what we want, right? When we're in these high, stressed environments, we want to make sure that we are delivering and that we are as calm as possible, but that we're as confident as possible. So there's one in particular, which is my favorite, and it's called the Wonder Woman pose. And we'll see if you guys can see me. I'll step back and hopefully these won't come out of my ears. So basically now you can see my belly, right?
Belly.
You can see my belly. So basically it's, the Wonder Woman pose. You have your hands on your hips. You can't see my legs, but your feet are hip width apart. And you stand like this, like you are Wonder Woman before any key presentation, before any interview, before any big client meeting, before any big meeting that you have with a new customer. You want to do that in order to boost your confidence levels, right? You want to make sure that you are delivering, you are showing your confidence, and that you're decreasing your stress levels. I did that before this blab. I do it before any major keynote presentation, workshop, any major thing that I'm doing the power pose before I do it. I also, if I'm on a call, if I'm doing a client call, and especially if it's the first time I'm doing it, they're not seeing me, I may be doing the power pose as I'm talking to them. I have my earbuds in and my hands are on my hips. And what they found is that it was really helpful. Now, there are also low power poses, which include your hand on your neck, crossing your arms, hunching over. And those poses will actually do the opposite. They'll make you feel less powerful, less confident, and more stressed. So that's good to keep in mind. Also, affirmations. So this is something that was in Amy Cuddy's book, Presence, that I thought was really interesting. We've all heard about the affirmations that we can do where, we post, you are great, and like all these positive affirmations that you say to yourself in the mirror, and there are studies that show that those are effective. But what Amy Cuddy found was that what's even more effective is for you to think about a time when you discovered or demonstrated something that you're great at. So think about something that you are really great at. Whatever it is, let's say you're a great figure skater or a great problem solver. Think about a time when you discovered or demonstrated that, and just think about that story. Remind yourself of that story. Do that before any key presentation, key client meeting new customers, networking event, regardless of the correlation between what that thing that you're great at and the thing that you're going to is, you will still feel more confident. Maybe you're delivering something about, operations, but yet you're a great figure skater. You will still deliver the content better after doing that exercise.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. It makes sense too.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense, and it really does help. So I think those were all my confidence tactics. So finally, I want to talk about power tools. So these are specifically things that you can do as an entrepreneur to help look better in your business and show up in a better way in your business, even if you're just getting started, so that you ultimately can make more money more quickly. So number one is to have professional photos and a personal branding statement. So, and this is all about optics, right? If you are doing things like public speaking or guest contributing to different websites or publications, they're likely going to ask for you to provide a headshot and a bio. So you want to make sure you have your headshot. You want to make sure you have your bio and a personal statement. That personal statement can be really short. It can be something that you put on your social media, on social media. Your bio should be about between 150 and 200 words. It's pretty decent for a bio that you would share out to some place that you're speaking at, or for a guest contributor spot. Guest contributor spots, they may ask you to even reduce that more, and that's why it's good to have a personal statement. With your headshot, having a professional headshot done, that is really important. You want to also use that on LinkedIn. If you have a customer base that is, professional, you want to make sure that you are on LinkedIn and that you are showing up in a professional way on there. And you absolutely should have a professional photo where you're wearing professional attire in that photo on LinkedIn. Another thing that you want to do is to make sure that you have, and we talked about this earlier, a professional looking website. And there's so many tools out there. You don't have to spend $5,000 on a website if you don't have it when you're just getting started. Instead, Squarespace has great templates. Theme Forest, and that's actually who I use. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, who did you use to build your website?" I did. My template, I'm going to give you, I haven't even told anybody this. I'm going to tell you this. My template was like under $80.
Wow.
And I know a little bit to be dangerous in terms of, graphics and everything, but it was a template. So you can do it. Find somebody. You can even get somebody on people per hour, and who knows WordPress. So you can go to Theme Forest, find your template, find somebody on people per hour who can install it and make it happen. And then you just load in the content and the visuals. Another thing you can do for graphics, Canva is my favorite.
That's what I use for this.
Perfect. I love me some Canva.
Right.
Canva is so easy to use. It makes you feel accomplished, like, wow, that looks great. And I have very few artistic skills. So that is a great tool to use. PicMonkey is really good for things like collages and even manipulating, editing photos and things of that nature. I always tell my podcasters that my favorite mic out there, if you are a podcaster, is the Audio Technica 2100. It sounds amazing, and it's like $50 to $60. Like, it's so cheap, and it sounds really good. So those are some power tools for you to look really good, even without spending a whole lot of money. So I know we're 10 minutes away from the end, and I know I've talked about a lot. Just wanted to recap some of the things I talked about. So I talked about personal branding. So remember that personal branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Remember that you want to put everything you put out to the world through the filter of your personal brand. And the homework that I gave you was to ask 10 people that you know to describe you using 3 to 5 adjectives and see what they say. And make that list and put it somewhere that you can see it. Excuse me. We also talked about image and the importance of having a strong in-person image and online image. In person, it's not only is it important because it impacts your how you're being perceived, but it also impacts your performance, and it may impact your pay. And we want the money, don't we? We want the money. When it comes to your online presence, you want to make sure that you are showing up in the way that people expect, that you don't lose customers because you don't have enough money. And we just talked about tools that you can use like Squarespace and Theme Forest to get templated websites that are really good looking, that will look extremely professional without you spending a lot of money. And we want to do that because it takes a split second to make a first impression online. Excuse me. With confident communications, want to make sure that we are doing the power pose, that we're boosting our confidence, that we're having good posture, that we can act as if even before we have the businesses of our dreams. Let's pretend we do, and then let everything rise up to meet what we're already putting out to the world. And then finally, the power tools. So I talked about, the graphics, having a professional headshot, having a bio, all of these things that are really important for any public-facing person, any business person, any business owner, so that you're prepared when the New York Times calls you up and wants to do that big story. they're going to ask you for your bio and your headshot, and you want to make sure that you are prepared.
True story. When Forbes featured me in an article, I did not have a professional headshot, and I had to go back and forth with the writer a couple of times. She was like, the pixels, Michelle, the pixels, send me another picture. So fortunately, you know, she worked with me, but they ended up using like a throwback high resolution picture that I had that I didn't even look like anymore, really. You know, I still look like, but you know, hair, we as women, I had evolved from that point, and I did not have a professional headshot that was any more recent. So it's really important, and you just don't know when those opportunities are going to come knocking. And hopefully they come sooner rather than later. If you've been doing all this work, we're hustlers, right? So you're doing the work. You want to be prepared when the opportunities arise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I did want to mention just one thing. I know that I went through a lot tonight, and in this short period of time. And if there is more that you would be interested in knowing, I did launch an online program called Power Presence, where I'll go in deep into things like how to communicate effectively, how to boost your confidence, how to power dress. We have a whole module on power dressing and how to dress for your body type, how to dress for the environment that you're in, and also power profiles, which is how you develop your digital presence in a strong way. Excuse me. And also a bonus that I put in here is how to develop your own power circle. And because what I know and what we all have heard is that we can't get to the top on our own. So building our own personal advisory boards, even though we may have one for our business, we should also have our own personal advisory boards to help us to get to the heights that we want to be in. So if you are interested in learning more about how you can elevate your image and your presence so that you can have that achieve all of the success that you want, you can head over to kyliecarr.com/power toolkit, where you'll find information on my Power Presence Toolkit. And it is available now for $379. And I'll tell you that before I put this out here, if I were to have put this together for a company, I probably would have charged between $3,000 and $5,000.
Right.
So it is a steal. When I work with clients on stuff like this, it's over $1,000. So definitely a lot of great content in that toolkit, and it will give you the tools that you need so that you can have that image and that presence that you want. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me too. And if you have any questions right now, feel free to post in the chat box.
Yay. Thank you so much, Kylie. If you folks have any questions, definitely hit Kylie up. Obviously, check out her incredible podcast, Beyond the Business Suit, which, of course, you can access at kyliecarr.com. And also, I put the link in for her episode with Carol Sankar, which was awesome because listening to Kylie's episode with Carol is how I got introduced to Carol. And then Carol became my coach. And actually, you know, I interviewed her on her Power Hustle podcast. And I've put that,
which was a great one.
They did both the interviews with Carol. He doesn't give bad interviews, so we're there, right? So,
every time I listen to her, I'm like, I'm learning something new every single time.
Exactly, it's always a gem. So yes, thank you so much to Lisa Subscribe. Thank you so much. Again, this is Her Power Plays. Thank you, Kylie Carr, for joining us and sharing such great information. This recording will be available here in Blab, and it'll also be available on YouTube for anyone who's watching. Thank you for watching the replay, although I'm saying this at the end, so you've obviously found it. But Her Power Plays brings you information, inspiration, and motivation to be a woman entrepreneur. Kylie Carr, tell folks again where they can find you on social media as well.
They can find me at Kylie Carr, which is KAILEICARR, on all the social media places,
right,
everywhere.
And you can head over to kyliecarr.com/power toolkit. We put the link as well in the show notes. No, in the comment section.
It does kind of feel like a podcast episode, right?
I know, right? What kind am I wearing right So yes, thank you so much as well, girls, Scope Scribe, and all the folks who joined us in and out tonight, which was really awesome. And for those of you watching in the replay, again, I'm Michelle Talbert, the host of the Her Power Hustle podcast, here with my good friend and style mentor, although not today, but typically style mentor, Kylie Gard. Thank you so much, Kylie, for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Have a great night, and rub the belly for me. All the best.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.